Yo, what's good, YouTube? Really excited about Shadowlands coming out tomorrow, November 23rd. It is a great time to be a WoW player. New expansion, Shadowlands. We've been waiting forever for this to come, and we have a lot of stuff that's been in since the last time I made a video, and I'm just gonna cover a couple of those things. But with that being said, I think we're way more polished. The devs did a really good job, I think, in my opinion, getting us to that point with the pushback of being a little bit more polished in terms of pretty much all classes across the board. It seems pretty good going into this expansion, knowing that they took that extra time to make sure that all these systems are going to be coming together, flowing together, and we're able to test that end game so that whenever we do reach end game in Shadowlands, once we get end game, we'll have a clear path as to where to go, what to do, and some of these things that we need to tackle before we get to heroic week and before we get to mythic week. So let's dive right in. I first want to start with just looking at the changes to our conduit system. This happened about 3 weeks to a month ago. If you guys aren't familiar with it, they pretty much flipped the conduit system in a sense, and they added some abilities here and there. They ended up making it, last time we spoke, we had 3 potencies, I'm pretty sure. Now we only have 2 in each slot. So every single conduit has 2 potencies, which feels really bad for us as a Resto Shaman, because as Resto Shaman, we had 3 really good potency conduits, and now we're gonna have to downsize to 2. So that's a little bit of a feels bad in my opinion, but we'll be able to make it work, make it manageable, and we'll be able to pick the right conduit depending on our situation, barring that we haven't just, we're not gonna be able to flip-flop within the week. Obviously there's a weekly cooldown, but if you know what you're kind of getting into, you might be able to set yourself up for success for that next boss. Or let's say we're on Sardonathrius, we can just lock in our 2 conduits that are gonna be good for that boss, so on and so forth. So I think we're still gonna be in the same 3 conduits that I spoke of on my last video. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's not updated. This is going to be the most updated information, but that'll give you more general information that I go into detail on everything. Talents, conduits, covenants. You'll see a bunch of gameplay. Go check that video out if you haven't. I have a bunch of other videos. I have a council boss video on there. I'll be showing some clips on here. You'll be able to see some videos on here, but from testing and stuff like that, how Shaman's looking. So like I said, Swirling Currents still really good, pretty much one of our top conduits. Basically, when you use Cloudburst Totem or Healing Street Totem, your next 3 Healing Surge, Healing Wave, or Riptide is buffed by 20%. That is great. That's amazing. Still going to be one of our tops. Being that, if you're going to be a Necrolord Shaman, which I'll go into more detail as to how to pick your Covenant and Conduit later on, but if you're going to be playing Necrolord, this is perfect for a Necrolord Riptide build, if you will. You'll be using Riptide Healing Wave a lot in this build. This will be perfect for that. Another one, Heavy Rainfall. Really good. It actually got nerfed a little bit since our last conversation, but it's still really good. It'll still be a really good cooldown or really good conduit if we're going to all be stacked together, and we're going to get a lot of uptime on Healing Rain. This will be your perfect. This will turn your Healing Tide Totem into a double cooldown. You'll then turn that Healing Rain and Healing Tide Totem into like a giga healing cooldown that will all be affected by mastery. It's a really good conduit. Last but not least, this is probably the best one of Necrolord. It's the Primordial Wave, having a 20% chance to not incur its cooldown. At rank 7, which is what we're going to be having for Mythic, it'll be, I think, 27. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around 27. That's going to be amazing if we're sitting there hitting the lottery, getting those resets, and the max we can get out is 7 Riptides on the entire raid. If you want to be effective and you're really on top of your game, you can get 7 out. This will allow you to get 8. You'll lose 1, you'll be able to stay at 8, stay at 7. Getting those resets will keep you at 7, keep you covering the raid, and literally just keep you blasting. So that's a really good cool conduit that we have in store. Basically, to finalize what's going to happen in terms of what we're going to be choosing, Emily is going to be our best one for raiding. simply because of the lead by example conduit that you're going to get right away, which is really good. That's what I'm saying. The fact that they flipped this and they put like the ending conduits at top is awesome. So now we're going to get that point. We're going to get this lead by example. Pretty much we'll be simping out as we always do anyways, right? You know, that's just what DPS like to say that we do. Like, okay, anyways, you know, we'll be simping out, giving out intellect, but we'll be gaining a lot of intellect, and intellect's obviously our best. That's amazing. This is going to be a go-to for raiding, you know, so on and so forth. We'll get 2 potencies. Our build will be the 2 potency build right here, and we'll go from there. In terms of talents are still the same for the most part in terms of the power. There has not been any shifts to talents, so, you know, we're still looking at Unleashed Life, can possibly play some Undulation. Echo of Elements is really good. There's a you know, argument for Deluge in certain situations, and this row is still going to be amazing for utility. You get to choose based on the situation that you're going to be in. Of course, this is the same thing too. And then, of course, we're going to be taking Cloudburst Totem out the gates. Cloudburst is just way too good, especially paired with Echo of Elements. You're going to get 2 of those. You're going to be having big Necrolord windows where you have, you know, 5, 6, 7 Riptides out. You're going to be healing all into that Cloudburst. At the end, you're going to be activating your Cloudburst, splashing 30% of that healing. It's going to be amazing. And then last but not least, which is the best of the talents in my opinion, is the ability to play all 3 of these and do really well. You're going to do well. They're all comparable. They're all competitive. If you're casting a lot of healing chain heals, High Tide is going to be your go-to. Ascendance is going to bring that extra cooldown. It actually plays really well with the way that damage is being done within Castle Nathria, and even in Mythic Plus, having that extra cooldown in Ascendance is amazing. Wellspring is also really good, does comparable healing. It's just, you know, we're going to be able to use this suited to what we need. If you need extra cooldown, go Ascendance. If, like I said, if you're going to be casting chain heals a lot, go High Tide. If you're going to be more spread out, Wellspring is going to be your go-to. You see what I'm saying? Or if you're stacked up like Vectis, Wellspring again, going to be your go-to. This is awesome to have that, you know, talent row, like that talent system like that. In terms of rating as a Resto Shaman right now, we're looking really good. Recently, there's been a bunch of changes in the healer, in the healing department. I would say a lot of the tuning's been done, and I think with where we're at with the healers is pretty much where we're going to be at when we're going into Castle Nathria, Heroic, and Mythic Week. I don't see much tuning being done on Heroic Week unless there's major outliers. Unless they find out that, you know, Resto Shaman is just doing something so insanely broken they need to nerf it. Or, you know, Holy Paladin's doing such terrible healing they need to buff it. So on and so forth, right? I think that the healer tuning is going to be locked in. This is kind of what we're going to be at. They might tweak some numbers here and there, but for the most part, this is where we're at. As of right now, Resto Shaman is king. I will say that. I'm going to come out and say that. Resto Shaman is king right now. If you're thinking about playing Resto Shaman, play it. Jump on the bandwagon. Hop on board. Play Resto Shaman. You're going to have a great time in this raid. You're going to have a great time in Mythic Plus because our kit fits really well in Mythic Plus. It fits really well with the Prideful affix. We're just looking really, really good going into this expansion. Better than we've looked going into, especially BFA, better than we looked going into BFA. We did not look that good going into BFA. We're looking amazing going into here. With Castle Nathria, you'll see that a lot of the damage patterns and a lot of the fights allow us to stack up, allow us to be able to get close together. There's going to be a lot of rot damage. There's going to be a lot, you know, that's going to benefit our mastery. We're going to be able to get a lot of cleave, a lot of chain heal. Our chain heal is going to be hitting 5 targets most times. More times than not, it'll hit 5 targets. We're not going to have, you know, nasty situations where we're going to be on Ilganoth and we can't really chain heal. We're hitting Healing Surge, Healing Wave. Like, that's terrible, right? We're not going to be in those situations. And if we are, we have, which we're not, but if we are, we have Necrolord to be able to fill that gap, right? Another good thing about Necrolord. Secondly, you know, there's a lot of fights where there's 3, 4, 5 targets that are getting, you know, absolutely destroyed. Chain heal is going to be smart healing all those targets. Healing Rain is going to be smart healing all those targets. That fits perfectly into our kit, and that's why we're looking really good going into Castle Nathria. If you're a big-time raider, if you enjoy raiding, you're going to have a good time playing Resto Shaman. For Mythic Plus, we're looking really good as well. With, like I said, with Prideful affix being taken into account, the damage pattern is really smooth. We have the cooldowns to be able to sustain those damage patterns and to outlive the the Prideful Affix, and a lot of the damage that's going on in these Mythic Plus dungeons. A lot of these damage patterns are really heavy, and Necrolord is able to top people off. Venthyr is able to top people off really quickly. We're going to be able to chain heal. That's going to top people off. Our surges with title procs top people off really fast, really efficiently, and we just have a lot of tools that weren't really valued in BFA. Most of all of BFA and Mythic Plus, our tools weren't valued at all. There was not enough damage. It's really bursty, really one-shotty. A lot of this damage is able to go out, and we have an opportunity to be able to heal it. That's what's going to make us really good as a shaman. We actually provide some pretty solid damage, some decent damage. Obviously, the downside is you can't passively do them at the same time, but we have a lot of pretty solid damage. Single target, we're going to do pretty well. AoE, not as well, but, you know, it'll get done. If you play Venthyr, if you play Kyrian, you'll be able to have an opportunity to do a little bit more damage than you would if you were just to play Necrolord. Now, I do want to show you guys a resource that I do want to give a shout out to everyone that put this together at the Resto Shaman Discord, Ancestral Guidance. They did a great job doing a lot of this background theory crafting information. This is all public information. You guys can go to the site and check all this information out. They have a bunch of stuff on here, boss guides, resources, you know, you name it. But I just kind of want to quickly touch over some of these things that they noted in here, just in case you didn't go see it. That way you have a spot to check it out. So I already spoke about the Venthyr, how it works, in my last video. If you haven't, like I said, if you haven't seen that, check that out, please. They also go down, and they'll show you each path for the Conduits. Really good resource right here. Like I said, it'll show you, depending on if you're a PvP player, PvE, for raiding, Mythic Plus, it all is different, right? All has different situational things. The one thing I wanted to talk about was this right here, choosing your covenant. Like I said, I spoke about this in my last video, but what it comes down to, and this is like a little funny, you know, a little bit of a meme, you don't have to take it too seriously, but basically, in a sense, this is literally what it is. If, you know, go down the flowchart, if you're a PvP player, Venthyr is going to be your go-to. If you're Mythic Plus, Venthyr, Kyrian, if you want the extra damage, Venthyr and Kyrian is going to be great for you. If you don't really care for that extra damage that you're going to get out of Venthyr and Kyrian, Necrolords are also a pretty good covenant, I think, for Mythic Plus, though it will be worse in a sense than Venthyr and Kyrian, simply because you're not going to have a damage, you know, outside of that. If you're a quote-unquote hardcore raider, as Maeve said in here, Necrolord will be your play. And if, you know, you don't really care, it's not your sole focus, Venthyr will be able to cover PvP, Mythic Plus, and raiding. You'll be able to cover everything. I think Blizz did a pretty good job in balancing all these conduits. By the way, shout out to all these guys. Maybe posted this article, Resto Shaman and Limit, Complexity Limit, but all these guys also helped out too. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. I do not take credit of any of this information. This is all public information that I just felt like I wanted to share with you guys, just in case you didn't have that resource, or you haven't seen it yet. Now you know. Go to the site, get the information. That way you kind of have that question answered for you quickly, and it's all there in a guide. It has detailed information. You know, if you want to play Venthyr, play Venthyr. If you want to play Kyrian, play Kyrian. If you want to play Naife, play Naife. These will, I think Blizz did a really good job in trying to balance all these covenants. Good job, I say, in a sense that they put them all down to a level that's even for the most part, and you'll be able to choose which one you want to play depending on the content you're doing. I think, of course, Necrolord is going to be the hardest, with quotations, hardest, but it'll give you a really good ceiling that if you play correctly, you'll be able to get a lot of maximization out of it. You'll get a lot of healing out of it, and it also is just a different flavor, a different play style. What I'm going to be playing for sure is I'm going to be playing Necrolord. I'm going to be getting my Riptide Legendary. That's definitely what I'm going to be getting. Primal Tide Core. And from there, that's going to be my focus for raiding, is to play Primal Tide Core, Necrolord, and to just put Riptide on cooldown and slap up the healing waves when, you know, we hit Necrolord. Now, some other good legendaries to note. Jonat's pretty good. Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem. This did get changed a little bit, and it got nerfed. Last time we were talking, it was at 100%. It now is at 25% in terms of the cast time. So it kind of got gutted, if you will. So this is no longer really in the talks of like our top 3 legendaries to bring into raid. Still a pretty good one. It just won't be as strong making Mana Tide Totem as a healing cooldown. It won't be as strong as what you're going to get out of Jonats or Primal Tide Core. That's just a fact. Now, if you go into some of our other stuff, Chains of Devastation is also going to be a decent legendary that we're going to be looking into for Mythic Plus. It'll provide you much more chain lightnings, even though chain lightning is not really that good. It'll provide you with the instant cast chain lightnings and the instant cast healing chain heals. So you'll be able to use that. If you need an on-demand chain heal while you're in Prideful, you can get that out really quick of every other global. That's really good. Other than that, those are the pretty much the legendaries we're going to be looking at PvE wise. Earth and Harmony might see some play in PvP. Pretty much making our Earth Shield that much stronger. It might see some play. I don't really know for sure, so don't, like I said, don't quote me on that. For the most part, these are our 4 legendaries that we're going to be looking to get. I would say from the get-go, I would go for Primal Tide Core, then I would go for Jonats, then I would go for Spirit Walkers, then Chains would be probably my last one, simply because I'm going to be focused on a raid for the entirety of Prague. Once Prague's done, then I'll probably look into Mythic Plus, and at that point, I still might even look into getting, you know, playing around Jonats or Spirit Walkers in a Mythic Plus setting. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update, touch on some of the things. I know it wasn't too long of a video, but I just wanted to touch on some of these things, show you guys what we had in store, kind of some of the plans that I have going into Shadowlands tomorrow, and for next week, what we're going to be doing, legendaries to acquire. And yeah, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to put them down in the comments. I really appreciate what you guys have been commenting on the last couple of videos that I've had. I've been trying to interact with you guys a lot. What we're going to be doing is definitely we're going to be streaming more. We're definitely going to be putting out more content going into Shadowlands. Tomorrow, I will have pretty much a 24-hour stream going for leveling. I know there's going to be a lot of people leveling. It is what it is. We'll have that going on. We'll be streaming a lot. I don't have a designated schedule, but we will be streaming a lot. We will be putting out YouTube guides and videos. Every single boss kill, I will be uploading a boss kill with guides, with healer cooldowns, with information to get to you guys so that you're able to see it and you're able to have just another resource to be able to use going into whenever you reach that boss, whenever you're going to go kill that boss and you're thinking, you're the person in charge saying, hey, how am I going to play this fight? How am I going to play? You just want to get better as a person. How am I going to play this fight as a Resto Shaman? Or you just want to see it from a perspective of, how am I going to get them cooldowns that's going to be efficient to get this boss down? That's going to be, you know, the information I'm going to be putting out there to you. We'll be also putting out Mythic Plus videos once we kind of get done with Prague, when we start putting out Mythic Plus videos, guys. So definitely check me out on twitch.tv/Jdtre. Check me out over there. Check out my socials. I'll have that all in the description. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. And good luck leveling tomorrow in Shadowlands, guys. Peace.